Today, Anthropic just launched Claude Fable 5, the most powerful AI model ever released to the public. It found 271 Firefox security flaws. It compressed months of engineering into a single day for Stripe, and it is sitting right there waiting for you to use it. So I fed it everything. My income, my debt, my investments, my tax situation, and I asked it to build me a complete financial plan from scratch. Here is exactly what it built, step by step, so you can do the same thing right now. Quick context before we build. A certified financial planner charges between $150 and $400 an hour. An average comprehensive plan runs $2,000 to $5,000, and half the people who pay for one never actually follow it. The financial planning industry is built on one premise, that this stuff is too complicated for you to figure out on your own. And honestly, before this week, they were mostly right. But Claude Fable 5 is a different kind of tool. It can reason through documents. It can build spreadsheets. It can hold your entire financial picture in its head at once and give you a plan that actually makes sense. Not because it is smarter than a human advisor, because it is patient enough to walk through every number without charging you by the hour. So here's what we're going to build. 7 chapters. A complete financial plan. 1. Your budget. 2. Your emergency fund. 3. Your debt payoff strategy. 4. Your investment allocation. 5. Roth versus traditional versus taxable. 6. Tax optimization. Pros. 7. A full 10-year net worth projection. Every prompt I type, you type with your own numbers. Open Claude right now. Seriously. Pause, open a tab, and follow along. This only works if you actually do it. And I should not have to say this, but I will anyway. Nothing in this video is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Claude is not a financial advisor. This is an educational walkthrough. Use it as a starting point, not a prescription. Your money, your decisions. Chapter 1. Your budget. And I already know what you are thinking. I know what a budget is. I do not need a lecture on spending less. Fair. But here's what Claude does that a spreadsheet doesn't. It reads your numbers and tells you things you did not know about your own spending. Here's the prompt. Type this into Claude but swap in your numbers. Here's my financial situation. I'm 27 years old. My annual salary is $72,000. My monthly take-home after taxes and deductions is $4,600. Here are my monthly expenses. And then you list them. Rent, $1,400. Car payment, $280. Car insurance, $130. Student loan minimum, $340. Groceries, $450. Subscriptions, $65. Phone, $85. Gas and transport, $150. Dining out and entertainment, $300. Clothing and personal, $120. Miscellaneous, $200. Then add, analyze my budget using the 50-30-20 framework. Show me my actual spending ratios. Identify where I am overspending relative to the framework and suggest specific optimizations. Calculate my current savings rate. Hit enter. And watch what comes back. And here's the part that hits different. Claude does not just repeat your numbers back at you, it breaks them down. In this example, your needs are running at 57% of take-home instead of 50%. Your wants are at about 13%, which is actually under the 30% guideline. But here's the kicker. Your savings rate is only about 6%. You are saving roughly $280 a month. At that rate, it takes you almost 30 years to hit $100,000 in savings alone. And Claude will tell you exactly where the problem is. In this case, rent at $1,400 is 30% of take-home all by itself. That is the single biggest lever. It's not the $65 subscriptions. It's not the lattes. It is the one-line item that eats almost a third of every dollar before you even start living. Now Claude also shows you the fix. If you can get that rent to $1,200, maybe a roommate, maybe a different neighborhood, your savings rate jumps to about 10.5%. That is nearly double. And if you cut dining and entertainment from $300 to $150, You are suddenly saving over $500 a month, and your savings rate is past 13%. Write down your actual numbers. Your real savings rate, not the one you assumed. That number is the foundation of everything we build from here. Chapter 2. Your emergency fund. This one is fast, but it is critical, because without it, the rest of the plan is built on sand. Every financial plan in history collapses the same way. One car repair, one ER visit, one layoff, and the person raised their investments or goes back into debt to cover it. The emergency fund is the firewall. Here's the prompt. Based on my budget, my monthly essential expenses, needs only, are approximately $2,600. My job is a salary position at a mid-sized company. I have employer health insurance with a $2,000 deductible. I am single with no dependents. Calculate my emergency fund target. Explain how many months I should hold and where I should keep it. Compare high-yield savings accounts versus money market funds for this purpose. Claude is going to tell you something most budgeting apps won't. The standard advice is 3 to 6 months of expenses. But Claude actually thinks about your situation. Salaried with insurance? 3 to 4 months is probably fine. Freelance with a high deductible? 6 months minimum. For our example, 3 months of essentials is about $7,800. You already have $6,500 in savings. You are $1,300 away from a fully funded emergency fund. And Claude will tell you where to park it. A high-yield savings account at 4.5% to 5% APY, as of right now. Not your checking account earning 0. Your emergency fund should be boring, liquid, and earning something while it waits. That's the whole chapter. Not complicated. That is the point. Chapter 3. Your debt. And this is where Claude earns its keep. Because debt strategy is the one place where math and psychology pull in opposite directions, and most people pick the wrong one. Here's the prompt. Here are my debts. Credit card, $4,200 at 21.99% APR. Minimum payment $90. Student loans, $32,000 at 5.8%. Minimum payment $30.40. Car loan, $9,500 at 6.9%. Minimum payment $220. Total debt, $45,700. Compare the debt avalanche method, highest interest first, versus the debt snowball method, smallest balance first. For each method, show the total interest paid, the payoff timeline, and the month-by-month breakdown. I can put an extra $300 per month toward debt beyond the minimums. Hit enter. And this is the moment most people finally see what their debt is actually costing them. Okay, 2 numbers. Avalanche method. Highest interest first. You attack that credit card at 22% first, then the car loan, then the student loans. Total interest paid over the payoff period, approximately $8,900. Debt-free in about 4 years and 2 months. Snowball method, smallest balance first. You knock out the credit card first here too because it happens to be the smallest. Then the car loan, then the student loans. Total interest paid, approximately $9,400. Debt-free in about 4 years and 3 months. So the avalanche saves you about $500 in 1 month. And honestly, for this debt mix, the difference is small because the smallest balance is also the highest rate. That is a lucky coincidence. But here's the number Claude shows you that changes everything. That credit card at 22%, if you only pay the minimum of $90 a month, it takes you over 7 years to pay off $4,200, and you pay almost $4,000 in interest on top of what you already owe. You're paying for that credit card almost twice. That right there is the number that breaks the spell. And Claude did not just give you the math. It gave you the timeline, the month-by-month breakdown, the exact moment each debt hits 0. Print that timeline. Put it on your wall. In our example, the avalanche is the right call. But the snowball wins when you need the psychology of quick wins to stay motivated. Claude lays out both so you can choose the one you will actually stick to. Because the best debt strategy is the one you do not quit. Chapter 4. Where your money goes. You have a budget. You have an emergency fund. You have a debt payoff plan. Now we build the part that actually makes you wealthy. And this is where most people get stuck, because there are too many accounts, too many options, and nobody explains which dollars go where. Claude does. Here's the prompt. I have the following investment accounts. 401k through my employer with a 4% match. Current balance $18,000. No IRA yet. A taxable brokerage account with nothing in it. My annual salary is $72,000. I am 27 with a 30-plus year investment horizon. I can invest $500 per month after debt minimums and emergency fund contributions. Build me an investment allocation. Tell me exactly how much goes into each account and in what order. Explain why. And here is where Claude shows you the hierarchy. The order your dollars should flow through your accounts is not random. There is a sequence, and the sequence matters. First, your 401k up to the employer match. In our example, 4% of $72,000 is $240 a month. Your employer doubles that. This is a 100% return on day one. There is no investment on earth that beats free money. If you are not getting the full match, you are leaving your employer's money on the table. And that is the most expensive mistake in this entire plan. Second, max out a Roth IRA, $7,000 a year, about $583 a month. We will cover the Roth versus traditional decision in Chapter 5, but at this income level, the Roth is almost always the right call. Third, go back to your 401k and push toward the $23,500 annual limit. Fourth, if you still have money left after that, the taxable brokerage is your overflow bucket. No tax advantages, but no restrictions on when you can touch it either. At $500 a month to invest, you cover the mash and put the rest into the Roth. That is the move. Simple, boring, and it works because the tax advantages do the heavy lifting. And the next question is always the same. Okay, but what do I actually buy inside these accounts? Here's the follow-up prompt. For a 27-year-old with a 30-plus year horizon and moderate risk tolerance, recommend a simple portfolio allocation for each account type. I want something I do not have to actively manage. Keep it to 3 funds or fewer. Explain the reasoning. Claude is going to give you something that looks almost disappointingly simple. And that is exactly the point. For a long horizon, the answer is almost always some version of 80 to 90% in a total U.S. stock market index fund and 10 to 20% in an international index fund. Maybe a small bond allocation if you want less volatility, but at 27, you have 30 years for the dips to recover, so most of the portfolio should be in equities. The specific tickers do not matter for this video. I am not recommending any particular fund, but the concept matters. Broad, low-cost index funds that own a slice of the whole market instead of betting the farm on one name. Expense ratios under 0.1%. Set it to auto-invest and do not touch it. The entire trillion-dollar fund management industry is built on convincing you that this is too simple to work. It's not. The data is 30 years deep. Ask Claude to show you the historical performance of a simple 2-fund portfolio versus the average actively managed fund. The answer will make you angry, and then it will make you calm. Chapter 5. The Tax Advantage Showdown. Roth versus traditional versus taxable. This is the question that paralyzes more people than any other in personal finance. And it paralyzes them because the answer depends on something nobody wants to admit, a guess about where your income will be in 30 years. But Claude makes this a lot less scary. Here's the prompt. My current salary is $72,000. My effective federal tax rate is approximately 16%. I am in the 22% marginal bracket. I expect my income to grow to approximately $100,000 over the next 10 years. In retirement, I estimate my annual spending will be around $60,000. Compare the after-tax outcome of contributing to a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA over 30 years, assuming a 7% real annual return. Show the math for both scenarios and tell me which one wins at my income level. And here's what Claude shows you that makes the decision clear. At $72,000 in income, you are in a relatively low tax bracket. The Roth wins here because you pay tax on the money now at your current low rate, and then every dollar of growth, every dollar you pull out in retirement, is completely tax-free. If you were making $200,000, the math flips. The traditional wins because you dodge the high bracket now and withdraw later at a presumably lower rate. Claude will actually show you the crossover point, the income level where the traditional starts beating the Roth for your specific tax situation. The rule of thumb: if you think your tax rate will be higher in retirement than it is right now, go Roth. If you think it will be lower, go traditional. If you have no idea, and most people don't, split the difference. Roth IRA plus traditional 401k. You get tax diversification and you stop losing sleep over a prediction nobody can make. For our example at 72 grand, Roth. Every time. Lock in the low rate while you have it. Chapter 6. Tax Optimization. The stuff nobody teaches you because the industry makes money when you overpay. This chapter is shorter, but it might save you the most money over your lifetime. Here's the prompt. Review my complete financial plan so far. I have a 401k with the employer match, a Roth IRA, and eventually a taxable brokerage. Suggest 3 to 5 tax optimization strategies I should implement based on my income level and account structure. Explain each one in plain language and estimate the annual tax savings. Claude is going to surface strategies you have probably heard of but never actually implemented. Let me give you the top 3 it will likely flag for this profile. 1. Asset location. This is different from asset allocation. Allocation is what you own. Location is where you own it. The idea is simple. Put the investments that generate the most taxable income, like bonds and REITs, inside your tax-advantaged accounts. Put the tax-efficient investments, like index funds that rarely distribute capital gains, in your taxable account. Same portfolio. Lower tax bill. 2. Tax loss harvesting. When an investment in your taxable account drops below what you paid for it, you can sell it, lock in the loss, immediately buy something very similar but not identical, and use that loss to offset up to $3,000 of ordinary income per year on your taxes. You keep the same market exposure, but you just handed yourself a tax deduction. This only works in taxable accounts. Your Roth and 401k do not care about losses because they are already tax sheltered. 3. The mega backdoor Roth, if your employer plan allows it. Some 401k plans let you make after-tax contributions beyond the $23,500 limit, up to $69,000 total, and then convert those to Roth. That is tens of thousands of extra dollars growing tax-free that most people do not know they can access. Ask Claude if your specific plan supports it. Give it the details from your plan documents and it will tell you. These 3 strategies alone, compounded over 30 years, can add tens of thousands of dollars to your net worth. Not from picking better stocks. From putting the same stocks in a different mailbox. Chapter 7. The one that changes everything. You have a budget, an emergency fund, a debt payoff timeline, an investment plan, tax strategies in place. Now we ask Claude the only question that actually matters. Here's the prompt. Based on everything we have built in this conversation, create a year-by-year net worth projection for the next 10 years. Use these assumptions. 7% real annual return on investments. Not guaranteed. Illustrative only. My salary grows 3% per year. My debt payoff follows the avalanche timeline we calculated. After debts are paid off, all freed up cash flows into investments. Inflation-adjusted spending stays flat. Show me the net worth at the end of each year in a table, and calculate the total contributions versus investment growth. Tell me the year where investment growth exceeds my annual contributions. Hit enter. And this, right here, is the moment you see it. Year 1. Net worth goes from about negative $21,000, remember, 46 in debt minus 25 in assets, to roughly negative $8,000. That does not feel like progress, but it is, because the debts are shrinking and the investments are growing at the same time. Year 2. You cross zero. For the first time in your adult life, you own more than you owe. That number is about $8,000 positive, and it does not look like much. But it's the most important number on this entire sheet because you just proved the machine works. Year 3. Net worth, roughly $32,000. Year 4. About $59,000. The credit card is gone. The car loan is gone. All that cash that was going to minimums is now flowing straight into investments. The curve starts to bend. Year 5. About $88,000. And this is where Claude shows you something that should stop you in your tracks. Of that $88,000, roughly $12,000 came from investment growth, not your contributions, not your paycheck. Money that your money made. Year 7. You cross $150,000. Investment growth in that year alone is more than your monthly contributions. Your money is now outworking your paycheck. Year 10. Net worth, approximately $260,000. And here's the line Claude draws that you will never forget. Of that $260,000, roughly $170,000 came from your contributions and savings. The other $90,000? Compound growth. Money you never earned. Money you never worked for. Money that showed up because you did the boring thing for 10 years straight. And that is with a $72,000 salary. Not a tech bro. Not a trust fund. A regular income, a boring plan, and 10 years of not quitting. Pull back with me. Look at what you just built. 45 minutes ago, you had a salary, some debt, and a vague sense that you should probably get your finances together. Now you have a budget with real numbers and a real savings rate. An emergency fund target that is almost funded. A debt payoff timeline that shows you the exact month each balance hits zero. An investment hierarchy that puts every dollar in the right account. A Roth versus traditional decision backed by your actual tax bracket. Tax strategies that most people do not learn until their 40s. And a 10-year projection that shows you in numbers what your life looks like if you just keep going. A financial advisor would have charged you $2,000 to $5,000 for this. You built it in an afternoon, and the plan is not some generic template. It is built on your numbers, your debt, your income, your tax situation. That is not a gimmick. That is the shift. The same quality of financial planning that used to be locked behind a $400 an hour paywall is now sitting in your browser for free, and the people who profit from you not knowing this, they are not going to tell you. So I just did. One more thing before you close Claude. Copy your entire conversation and save it. That is your plan. But I also made you a template, a one-page summary you can fill in with the key numbers from each chapter. Budget, your take-home, your savings rate, your top 3 optimization targets, emergency fund, your target, your current balance, the gap, debt, your chosen strategy, your payoff date, your total interest cost, investments, your dollar hierarchy, your allocation, your monthly amount, tax strategy, Roth or traditional, asset location plan, any backdoor opportunities, projection, your year 1, year 5, and year 10 net worth targets. The link is in the description. Download it, fill it in, and send it to one person who needs it. Because the best thing about a plan that costs nothing is that you can give it away without losing anything. And look, I know what the comments are going to say. Claude is not a real financial advisor. And that is correct, it is not. But neither is doing nothing. And for the 80% of Americans who do not have a written financial plan, the biggest risk is not using the wrong tool. It is never using any tool at all. Claude did not replace your judgment. It organized your thinking. It took the mess of numbers floating around in your head and turned it into a document you can actually follow. And that document, as imperfect as it might be, is infinitely better than the plan most people have right now, which is no plan at all. The system was built to keep this complicated. Complicated means you pay someone. Complicated means you freeze. Complicated means the gap between the people who have a plan and the people who don't keeps getting wider. Claude just made it simple. The only question left is whether you actually do it. If this helped, follow Wealthy Beaver on X. The handle is @wealthybeaver_. And if you want to go deeper, I made a video where Claude analyzes an actual investment portfolio. Real positions, real numbers. Link is right here.